And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ms. Paulison. I have been at Nova for 15 years. I teach AP Literature and ACE Literature, and I'm also the curriculum leader for 11th and 12th grade English.
So Ms. Paulison is one of the best essay critiquers that we have at Nova High School, and I just wanted to ask her a couple questions about the college writing process. So the first question I want to ask is, in all the essays that you read throughout the years, what are the common mistakes that you've seen or noticed that that should be fixed?
One of the most common mistakes that I've seen, or that I see, probably there's 2 or 3, but the top one would be that students tend to not write about themselves. Because writing a narrative about yourself is not a skill that we practice very much. We used to practice it in 4th grade, we would do it, right? 6th grade, you would do it. But once you kind of get into high school, it's all about analysis and writing about whatever text they give you. So students feel uncomfortable writing about themselves. So even when they're writing an essay for college, let's say they want to be a nurse or they want to, be a teacher, they tend to fill their whole essays with facts or knowledge about those 2 careers, and they don't really talk at all about themselves. That's the first mistake. The second mistake I think that happens is Common App gives you 7 prompts that I really feel like kids should look at and follow, because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know where to go, if that makes sense. So, and then your essay ends up kind of being unorganized, jumbled, a bunch of different ideas instead of just one idea that someone expands upon. So I think like if you decide you want to write about an obstacle, or you want to write about a background that you can't, that you want them to know about, or something you're grateful for, or a concept that's changed the way you think, or an incident that's changed the way you think. Like, I think that's a good starting place, and then their essays tend to be more organized and also stay on that same topic, as opposed to having a bunch of other ideas which cause it to, be jumbled.
Okay, so basically what I got from that is that you really want to talk about yourself in your essay, and that you should be really organized and definitely take advice from the prompts that you decide to choose.
Yeah, the prompts are really good, and they're also broad. So you can have one experience that maybe you don't feel is an obstacle, or you don't feel is part of your background, but it's something else. But maybe it's an experience that, even though it was not 100% positive, you can end up being grateful for. So I would suggest that they write toward the gratitude prompt. So at least you have an idea or a focus in your essay, and you kind of bring that all the way through to the end.
Okay, so we spoke about some of the common mistakes that you've seen, but what do you think are qualities that make a really good essay?
So I think a really good essay is focusing on something positive. And I feel like a lot of kids think that, or a lot of kids fall into the trap of trying to write about something negative or sad that happened in their lives. And I feel like in the past, maybe that was a way to write or start what people would consider a good college essay. But a lot of bad and sad things happen to everyone. So I think that you either take an experience, you speak very briefly about it, and you turn it into something, how you've made it into a positive change in your life, or you've helped it to change others or help others in some way, or you just completely avoid that and just think of a creative idea that you would like to expand upon in an essay. And a really good place to start are, I think, the prompts that the Common App gives you. Because even, let's say, like the gratitude prompt, just reading it, maybe you think of something that you are grateful for, and then you have a really positive essay that contributes to the school, what their vision is, what your future vision is, and I just think it works out better in the end to write about something like that.
So it once again came back to the prompt. So
yeah.
I definitely see like the prompts are pretty important.
I feel like the prompts are important. They put them there for a reason. And it just, a lot of students say, oh, I did the I did the one which you can write about anything you want. It seems like when those essays come to me, the anything you want essay, those are the ones that the student and I end up having to do the most work on. When students come that they've thought about a prompt, and they are kind of focused on that, those are the ones that have the less work to do.
Okay. And then one of my final questions is, what advice do you have for nervous high school students that might be confused about their career or nervous about the college admissions process?
I think the college admissions process is very anxiety or angst ridden, and it does cause a lot of nervousness and trepidation. But I think that You have to really feel that wherever you end up going is the place for you, even if it wasn't what you first intended. And also, every year colleges change their admission processes. So sometimes they look at grades, right? Sometimes they'll look at scores. Sometimes they look at some years really weigh heavily on extracurricular activities or leadership or service. And so they kind of change that every year. So you never really know where you're going to get in or where other people will get in. And I think that just being happy for the students who get into where they want to get into, even if it was some place that you anticipated that you didn't get in, and be happy for yourself for where you got in. And where I really feel like wherever you go is where you're meant to be in terms of school.
All right, thank you, Ms. Paulison.
You're welcome.
And I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.